that other person's ear. And it says, you know, your partner over there, they really want to bring resolve. You might want to open your heart to hear them. It'll literally cause what you want to say to be heard by the other person, bypassing their ego, bypassing their resistance. I know it might sound strange because maybe you've never heard of this, but it's a very effective Tao technology technique. Here's an example. Let's say it's a significant other. Dear the soul of my, name the significant other, could you please come? I love you. I love you with all my heart. I know we've had this resistance about this particular issue. Let me share with you what I'm hearing you saying. I'm hearing you say, and this is what I would like. And what I would like to find is a resolve where you can have a little bit of this and I can have a little bit of that, and we can have a win-win situation. Please, this is the next part, very important. This is another simple technology that is actually used pretty much worldwide, but it's called forgiveness practice. And you would literally, from at the heart level, you do a forgiveness practice with that soul. To the soul of my significant other, my partner, please forgive me this experience, and again, if other lifetimes and any lifetime that we might have been repeating this. Maybe there's something for both of us to grow here, and if I have been obstinate, resistant, not respectful of your thoughts, words, your opinions, your perspectives, if I have been rude in my expression, if I have been angry in my expression, not compassionate and honorable, please forgive me. You do this from your heart. And when you're done, one of the tools that we have is a simple thing called chanting or mantra, something simple like chanting a mantra of love, peace, and harmony. It balances the vibration. And it might be, let's say, a 5 to 10 minute experience, right? You could literally do this if you left the room and your guys were in this heated argument. You can go in the room, you touch your chest, you breathe yourself into a place of calmness, you call their soul, and you express to them in a kind, loving space, a win-win scenario. You do a heartfelt forgiveness at the level of soul, and then you just stay relaxed. You'll probably get a signal. Guess who's going to give you the signal? Your soul. When the right time is to re-enter that room with that partner. And what you're going to witness might shock you. It's highly unlikely they're still going to be in a defensive posture defending their space. What is much more likely is that they're going to be in an apologetic space, and you're going to be able to find a new level of communication. When you communicate at the level of our origin, soul to soul, you can bypass all of the mindsets, attitudes, and beliefs that tend to be the root cause of relationship problems. And this is one of the Tao technologies that Master Sha has brought to us. We're very blessed to have these because the vast majority of us, we end up in a divorce. And again, only if you recognize that there's a possibility of other lifetimes, then that means that that's probably repeated itself. And the possibility that it could happen at another time is reasonable to assume as well. This is one of the reasons why in life we might continue to repeat a relationship, not a relationship mistake so much as we might attract to us a person where that same thing that we were trying to avoid returns in that next relationship. And we could go out of our way to make sure that doesn't happen, and yet it does. And this is because there is something that needs to be transformed. So let's talk now about some of those things that we can address. The first one being poor communication. Poor communication is actually poor listening skills. That's really what it is. And so these are simple common sense things. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not trained in any of this stuff. But in terms of common sense, one of the things that will almost always ensure you have a better chance of being heard is being the one who first is the one who listens. So there's a simple rule that you can do that can assist with helping any relationship. It doesn't matter what it is. It's a very simple one. Look him in the eye, listen with your heart, and repeat back to them what you hear them saying in your own words. That's it. And you will be shocked by that very simple thing, looking in the art, listening with your heart, not having an agenda. This is the problem in relationship. We all have an agenda to be heard first. So one of the two of you has to be the wiser. One of the two of you has to be the one that um, basically is the wiser. Okay? And you simply say, with your eyes, I'm here to listen. You hear what they have to say, you reflect back to them. Don't share your part until you ask the final question, which is there anything else you want to share? Right? Or you can say, do you mind if I share with you everything I heard you say? Because they can talk for 5 minutes. Here's the favor you're doing for yourself in that relationship. Doesn't matter who it is. Could be a boss, doesn't matter who it is. The favor you're doing for yourself in that relationship, in that communication, is you're allowing yourself the optimal possibility of being heard, because they're not going to hear you when they're up to here in their irritation. They're not. But when you let them be heard, their irritation drops down, drops down, drops down. Now they have a lot of space to hear you, and the probability of compassionately listening to you is very good. And then you can have that win-win that you desire. Okay? So it's kind of a common sense thing. It's not necessarily a Tao technology, but neither is touching your heart and closing your eyes and breathing 5 minutes. But we want to give you common sense tools that you can use in everyday life, because life beats you over the head every day, right? And we need some common sense things. So a soul communication is one of them. A true and honest connection with no agenda for your perspective to be heard first. And then being present. Now, that, by the way, was the first on the list. And this is the thing, is poor communication. But poor communication is actually a listening skill. The next is taking others for granted. You know, one of our mistakes is assuming that the other person will always be there, or not appreciating their efforts. You know, showing some gratitude and some acknowledgement for the other person can bring huge benefits. So ask yourself, especially when it comes to the challenging relationships you have, you know which one or two they are, how appreciative are you for that person? And do you actually let them know that? And you'll know if you don't, because they're going to look at you like an alien replaced you. If you say something not, appreciative, and they're like, where'd that come from? What do you want? What do you want from me? That'll be your first clue that you're not very appreciative of them. And that means you might want to do it a little bit more from a place of love. Okay? So kind of, again, some fun things to do. Now, why aren't we that way? Why aren't we more communicative in that way? Why don't we listen better? Why aren't we more appreciative? Well, this boils down to what we refer to in our understandings as our own blockages. And where do those blockages come from? Well, it's been my observation that they originate from our separation from source, our separation from what we were originate from. In a bigger picture, we enter this experience and we are at the mercy of whomever our protectors are, if you will, our parents. And then we grow up and we might have bullies, we might have brothers and sisters that are not so pleasant to us, we might have a mentally or emotionally abusive parent, we might have some traumas along the way, and all of these are addressed using whatever we've learned along the way. And what we do as a human is we tend to be very protective of our heart, very protective of the way we bring ourselves to the people around us. We filter the things that we hear, we filter the things that we say. For the most part, we're not our true nature in our communications with others, and we're protective, not letting others in. This is a side effect of separation from source. It's a natural. It's not wrong, it's not right, it is just what occurs because we have not been taught that love is unconditional. We have not been taught that we are an aspect of source. We have not been taught that that others' perceptions and others' rights and wrongs doesn't have to be our rights and wrongs. We might have had experiences where we didn't know how to deal with them, therefore we developed protection mechanisms and so forth. So basically our personality uh, creates a lot of the problems in a relationship simply because we are protective about opening our heart. And and it can be validated because when we do, guess what? It gets crushed. Right? And why does that happen? It happens because of many features, many things. Um, but a big chunk of it is our upbringing and what we've learned along the way. So a lot of what the Tao technologies do is they assist us. Like none of this is necessarily new to any of you. It's not like I'm stating anything that's new. It's more like, yeah, that actually makes sense. I've heard that before, but now it makes more sense. Now I'm able to work with it. And one of the things that we want to empower you with is, um, for example, using the 4-power technique. I've already shared with you one of them, connecting to the soul. Okay, but there's 3 others, and I shared with you another one. It's called body power, where you place your attention, where you place your hands. Hand power is where your attention goes. So we placed our hand there. That's actually one of the 4 techniques. I spoke to you momentarily. I said, you know, you do a forgiveness practice, and maybe you'll chant a little bit because we chant mantra or a positive affirmation. And that's a power. That's called sound power. It carries a healing vibration. Okay. And then there's also visualization. So if we wanted to use this, uh, for example, to change a pattern that we want to be more open and healing in a relationship. We want to open our heart to have a healthy relationship. How would we do this to heal ourselves? How would we use Tao technology to heal ourselves? We would first, we recognize that forgiveness is important. What do we forgive with ourselves? We can ask forgiveness for all the mindsets that we have held around relationships. We can forgive ourselves for the protective patterns that we have wrapped around our heart in relationships. We can forgive ourselves for holding people at a distance because we were fearful about what they might do or say to us. We can forgive ourselves about all the ways we have approached relationships, and we can forgive, this is one of the harder ones, we can forgive those who we blame for our suffering in relationships. Because one of the wisdoms that tends to pervade most of the higher level teachings that are out there is that our thoughts, our words, and our actions affect others and us equally. So we could say something that we don't think is harmful, but that other person who is on the receiving end could experience, for example, anxiety as a result of it, or they could experience a fear result of what we said that we thought was harmless. And that then creates an imbalance on their vibration, or the Taoism would say it would create a an entanglement, a quantum entanglement between their soul and yours. So if we create fear in another, then that a possibility of more fear coming into our life could occur. So the Tao wisdom gives us the opportunities to transform that through forgiveness. All those other souls who I have blamed for these problems in our relationship, I no longer wish to hold this anger. I might have created anger for you or another in a different time, I don't remember. I no longer wish to hold this pain of being the victim as if I'm on the receiving end of this victim experience, when it's a possibility that in a time I don't remember, I might have caused that experience upon you or another. And these are the things that we don't know, but what we do know is if we hold on to pain, if we hold on to angst, if we hold on to self-righteousness, visually, it's like you walking into a jail cell, closing your own door on yourself inside the jail cell, yelling at the person outside the jail cell, the previous relationship, saying it's all your fault. Yeah, you out there. And that one out there is like, 10 years away, walking around, not even knowing you or complaining about them anymore. But in your own mind, I hate you. I'm angry at you. You did this to me. I'm the victim. You're the bad one. You just closed the own jail cell on yourself. In other words, you left a negative vibration on your soul, blocking your heart, blocking your ability to open to receive love. That's probably not what you intended, but we have so much attachment to being right and being the victim and being, wronged that we hold on to it. Well, they didn't validate it. I've talked to psychologists, this and that, but it's still there. You're the only one that can release it through true forgiveness. Letting it go. Was it right? Of course it wasn't right. No. But is it right to harm yourself, lock your own door on your own prison cage, and inhibit yourself from having love the rest of your life? No, that would be equally foolish, wouldn't it? So let it go with love in your heart. Forgive with love in your heart. These are much higher level forgiveness wisdoms and teachings that Master Sha has brought to us. That most of the systems that are out there that speak of it, they don't go into any level of depth. Now, there's additional tools that we're going to put up on the screen in just a moment here. It's called a Tao calligraphy. Now, when Master Sha was working with Source to bring these healings to humanity, these different wisdoms and technologies, one of the problems that he ran up against, understandably so, was the mindsets that people have, the attachments that they have to how do I put this? To belief systems. So he's an Asian man, doesn't speak with a very clear English communication, and he speaks from a series of wisdoms that came from beliefs on that side of the earth, Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, etc. He doesn't profess them at all. You can tell that he's not any of those necessarily, but he adopts the base wisdoms of those, and in bringing them here, he had a difficulty trying to express people how to bring healing to themselves. It would butt up against their belief systems. Well, if it's not Christian, then I don't care. If it's not this, then I don't care. Da, 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 da. So he chatted with the Source about this and said, I know you want me to bring healing to all humanity, not just those in the East. So how do I move beyond this blockage? How can I serve, the 8 billion people? Without their beliefs getting in the way, because his love is unconditional, his service is unconditional. The wisdom is not limited to just half of the population. It's for everybody. And what the Source told him was to use art, which was brilliant, I thought. He said, you are a channel of light. You're able to use that light and transmit it to people, but one at a time. There's only one of you, and there's 8 billion, so it's virtually impossible to bring healing to all of them. But if you act as a channel, and the light that is source healing comes through you as the channel into the art, and then you disseminate that art and tell people to interact with it, then the art then becomes the medium through which the higher frequency and vibration can affect that individual. Okay, so this is the Tao technology called Tao calligraphy. I'm going to put up an image here in a second. Thought I had it pulled up here, and it's not. So let me try again. Okay, some of you may know this, some of you may not. This is an image of a calligraphy. This is 2 characters. The first one looks kind of like a cursive L in the English language. And the second one below that is a second character. And the first one is Da, which means greatest. The second one is I, A-I, Da, I. And this translates to the greatest love. And so what Master Sha received was to put the vibration of the greatest love into a piece of art with the words Da, I. And when people interact with that piece of art, which we'll show you now in a few minutes, an example of how to do that, when people interact with that, then the light that has been transmitted into that acts as a portal, if you will, connecting the source light to that individual, bypassing the middleman who put the art into place, coming straight to you, and then you receive that light. You receive the message that was embedded into that piece of art. Now, these calligraphies, there's many thousands of them that he's created over the past 15 years, um, but he speaks often of the 10 highest qualities of love and forgiveness, compassion and light, humility and harmony, flourishing. Everybody wants more of that. Gratitude, we just spoke of that a moment ago, and service. Service to others is probably the biggest message that this teacher brings to humanity. Maybe we'll have time to touch on that today. So this calligraphy that briefly I put up called Da-I, it's more than a piece of art. It's a Tao technology that allows the average anybody, no matter where they're at, no matter what their suffering is, to instantly, upon interacting with this, bring a far higher vibration to their immediate moment, which is probably being very challenged by a much lower vibration, a vibration of anger or resistance or hurt or whatever it might be. It's a lower vibration than where they'd like to be. And so if I had this cup of hot water and I had this glass of cold water and I start pouring the hot water into the cold water, what's going to happen to that cold water? It's going to have to become warmer, warmer, warmer until it becomes the same temperature as what I'm pouring in it, right? When you bring a higher vibration into a lower vibrational condition, the lower vibration adjusts to the higher one. This is the base understanding of all of Master Sha's Tao technologies and wisdoms. He assists us by empowering us with tools and techniques that elevate our frequency from where it's at. And we can apply this anywhere, anytime. You can buy these calligraphies, the images of them, off his website, and or you can connect with your local practitioner in the Oregon or Pacific Northwest area, and they can assist you with direct healing because many of Master Sha's longer term, we'll call them members or students, have received the abilities and the authorities to offer healing directly through their vessel as well. So let's go ahead and do a practice. I want you to choose a specific relationship that you're having challenges with, okay? And take a moment, and we're going to do a soul communication, a forgiveness, and a tracing. We're going to do all three things that we just discussed, okay? And then the beauty about this is you can apply this as well on your own. These calligraphies are available, and there are even Master Sha is very generous with the gift of healing. There's all kinds of social media activities where you can receive blessings almost every day towards your goal, towards your intention of healing that relationship. So choose that one relationship, and let's go ahead and call their soul. Okay, I'll give you an example of words. If they resonate with you, go ahead and repeat them. Dear the soul of, say that person's name, I love you. Could you please come to this communication? Now, for a moment, think about what the imbalance is between you. Might be long-standing, might be a short-term spat. Think about what that is. And remember, this is a win-win communication. I love you. Please forgive me for any miscommunication we may have had. I recognize that I might have not chosen the right words. I might have been able to choose a more calm way to say what I needed to say. I recognize that you and your perspectives and opinions are very important as well. And I really wish for both of us to find a balance where you can be honored and heard and feel like you're not being ignored. And I wish to also be heard and understood. And I wish very much for us to find something where we're both happy with the outcome. I'm so sorry if if in any lifetime, if I've ever said or done or brought harm or suffering to us in any relationships we've ever had. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Okay. Now, if you have something that you want to share that you would like to get, for lack of a better word, their buy-in on, right? You can share that too. Maybe you just couldn't get past B. You couldn't get to C, D, E, and F because the resistance is so strong you couldn't get past B. And you really want them to know this plan that you have of whatever it is you want to accomplish. In a soul communication, you can do that. Here's what I really wanted to share with you. And this is why I think it'll help you, and this is what it'll do for us, and this is what I want to accomplish. And I didn't get a chance to share this with you because we had a resistance before I even got to this part. So in other words, you can share the things that appear to be unshareable in an in-person level at the level of soul. And it actually creates a set of conditions where that other person, when you reconnect with them, the likelihood of them opening up and hearing it and even being positive to it is significantly improved, increased, okay? So you would do that. Now, you can do a deeper level forgiveness, especially if it's a long-standing thing going on with you and this other person. Sometimes we have brothers or sisters or even parents or sometimes kids where it could be a 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, I've seen it many times, where there's just zero communication, right? And you can start doing soul communication on those. Every day you call their soul, and with your greatest heart and love, you communicate with them, you tell them you love them, you ask forgiveness for this in all time where mistakes could have been made, and you do not stop. You do it every day consistently, and you will be shocked. It might take 6 months, 1 year, it might only be 2 weeks, but out of the blue, eventually you will get a call. Eventually they're going to say, "We need to talk." And that means that the soul communication has done its job, and now they're ready for that physical communication, right? So that's an example. Now let's go ahead and work with the calligraphy. Again, because I'm not familiar with everybody here, I don't know your ability to interact with this calligraphy, but basically how it works is we can trace it. We can trace it with our fingers, we can trace it with our eyes, we can trace it with our energy center called our lower dantian. What's popular is to touch all 5 fingers together and simply follow the circle around 3 times and then dropping down in and following the lines nice and slow. It's kind of a meditation. Okay? Now as we do this, we're going to connect to the light within and ask it to transform our relationship. So again, repeat after me. Dear the source and all of the light and the healing within this source calligraphy piece of art and the light that it connects to the source, I love you. As I interact with you and trace, could you please bless, heal, and transform my relationship with, and then you state that person's name, in whatever way is most appropriate. Thank you. So let us go ahead and start tracing. And what I like to do while I'm doing this is I'll chant either in my head or out loud, depending if I'm in a crowd or not. For those of you that may have a calligraphy card, I recommend you take a photo of it, put it on your phone, and then no matter where you're at, you can just open your phone and connect. You can use it for assisting you through a difficult condition. It doesn't have to be a relationship. It can be something else where you're having significant stress. And what I typically do is I chant Da I greatest love. So you're welcome to do that with me or silently. Da I, Da I, Da I, Da I. Greatest love, greatest love, greatest love. Die, greatest love, heal and bless my relationship, heal and balance my relationship. Continue to trace. It's important to remember that if the stress that's occurring as a result of a relationship imbalance has been there for a while, there's still love, but it's definitely been challenged, then it's important to be consistent with these practices. Having no attachments to the outcomes, that's key. Just doing the necessary steps, having the necessary soul communications, doing the depthful forgiveness practices, connecting at the level of soul. And one of two things is going to happen, especially if you're consistent for a few months. Either things are going to get better slowly but surely, or things are going to get worse and go the other direction. Now, worse doesn't necessarily mean more violence or more anger or more resistance. Worse might look like clarity that this relationship has completed all that it was intended to accomplish, that you would have, for example, resolved the imbalances that were part of the relationship because you did forgiveness, because you cleared the blockages by using these technologies. And that's either going to bring you closer together with greater resolve, or it's going to cause separation with balance. Very rarely is it separation with resistance and anger and all that, because you would have already done the work. And what you want to pay attention to is, if it's the latter, separation with balance, that is not a negative. That simply says you've completed what you came to complete with that soul. Now you're able to have a relationship that potentially is going to be better and healthier for you, allowing you to spread your wings wider and farther. So it's important to have no attachment to the outcome when using these technologies to bring healing to a relationship, because healing doesn't always mean things improve and come together. Healing could mean things resolve and we go our separate ways. That could be what the highest and best result is, according to both of your souls and, of course, heaven. Da I, the greatest love, blesses our relationship. Da I, the greatest love, blesses our relationship. Da I, the greatest love, blesses this relationship. Now there's a calligraphy for the greatest forgiveness. The reason I didn't choose that one is because it's a little more complicated, especially for anyone that might be new here. And we want to make it simple. But ultimately, the greatest love and the greatest forgiveness and the light within them serve with equal effort and equal result. So don't get caught up in, do I have the right calligraphy? Am I doing it right? Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I didn't write down everything that Paul said because he speaks too fast. What if I get it wrong? What if I miss a word? Okay, that's all the analytical mind stuff. Do you think heaven really cares about any of that stuff? Heaven cares about authenticity of your heart. When you are authentic with your heart, miracles happen. When you are authentic with your heart, you can move mountains. So let go of any attachments to accuracy and all of that stuff. That's just mind blockages. That's not going to help you with healing anything. Okay? All right, I'm going to complete this. So come to the end of tracing this source calligraphy. And one of the practices that you can choose to do or not do, but it's a form of gratitude and it's a form of acknowledgement where we say thank you from our heart to the source, uh, to all the love and light that is coming through this source calligraphy to bring healing to us with gratitude. So we're going to open now to anyone that wishes to offer any sharing, whatever they wish to share about what you've been given so far today. Okay. So it appears that most everybody here is already a student, so that's good. One of the reasons this weekly activity occurs is to gather more people on a consistent basis in the Pacific Northwest area for the purpose of bringing one of the top teachers or Master Sha himself to this area. And one of the ways to accomplish that is through these consistent Wednesday evenings. There are in the Pacific Northwest about 170 healers, people who have received Tao healing hands or other authorities which act as a medium, much like that calligraphy does, to help individuals with their struggles. And one of the wonderful things about working with those who have these authorities and abilities is that they've already done it. They've been doing it for years, in some cases decades. They've helped hundreds, if not thousands of people, communicated with them, listened, discerned their root blockage. They've been taught to open their spiritual channels and receive pure messages about what the root might be. And accordingly, when they offer Tao healing, what does that Tao healing do? What did the Tao calligraphy do? Tao healing addresses the blockage at the root. What is the root? The root is the soul, because the soul lives forever. We do not. This vessel, everything about this is temporary. But the soul is not. Soul is forever. And the soul carries on it all vibrations, positive and negative, of this in all time. So if in a previous time mistakes had been made, those remain on the soul. If in a previous time great service to others had been made, that remains on the soul. That then becomes the predominant vibration that is radiating in your moment right now. So if you're in a suffering moment, specific to health, for example, you're fine financially, you're fine in relationship, but you have health issues. Or maybe you're fine in relationship and you're fine in money, but you have, I just said that, you're fine in health, you're fine in relationship, but you have money issues. No matter what it is, at least in this understanding, the root that we identify is at the level of soul. And one of the foundation wisdoms that Master Sha brought to us is when you transform the blockages at the level of your point of origination, then the heart which is beneath it, the mind which is beneath it, the energy and the matter, all of that's beneath the soul. They have to align to the changes that occur at the top of the food chain. The soul is the top of the energetic food chain, and when it is out of balance, we feel it here at the physical level. So heal the soul first, and everything else has to align to that. The other teachers and practitioners in the Northwest have known this, trained this, learned this, and if you want to work with them, then look on your screen. There are many of them here. Reach out to the person that invited you here. They might be one of those practitioners. They know how to help you, and if for some reason they can't, then they'll reach a little bit higher to someone that can. One of the things that I've personally witnessed no less than 1,000 times, having been in Master Sha's presence many, many times, is what is commonly referred to as a healing miracle. In fact, it's not. All it is a transformation of an energetic blockage at this level. It's pouring enough hot water into the cold until the cold becomes hot. It's just source vibration, the same thing that we're all made of. But we've gotten so identified with the suffering that we can't see beyond it. We can't reconnect to our source. So when we receive healing from these Tao practitioners, they're a conduit through which that source light comes, and it starts raising your frequency back to where it was. It's not necessarily miraculous. It's just pouring enough of the light that you already are back into your vessel so that you can remember what you already are, and the healing occurs. Okay? And the higher that healing vessel is, the more profound the healing. That's why Master Sha is well known for truly creating extraordinary forms of that. Mental and emotional blockages, which tend to be related to relationships, can also be resolved by the same thing, because those are simply blockages on our vibration, mindsets, attitudes, and beliefs that we've held on to that could benefit from some transformation and an opening of our heart once again. So as we move towards wrapping this up, my encouragement is to each and all of you is to know that no matter what you're suffering, the root is a blockage at the level of soul, and it will show up for you quite obviously, especially if it repeats itself, like the person that keeps cheating. You got rid of that one, another one cheats on you, got rid of that one. Or anger keeps showing up in your life. You'll see the patterns. Those mean that there's blockages on your vibration. You're either attracting those people to you, or you radiate those imbalances. And the Tao healing can help you identify them, and they can help you to transform them. They can give you replacements for them. There are things called Tao light transmissions, light balls, that are the positive aspect of, for example, anger is an imbalanced emotion. What's the positive? Calm. So you can receive blessings for calm to balance out the anger. There are so many different wisdoms that Master Sha has taught his students over the past 30 years that it would be very wise to connect with one of them in your area, all right? So the purpose, as I started 10 minutes ago, is that our intention is to bring a high-level teacher to that area. And the more people that come to these kinds of Wednesday practices, the more people can be made aware of this. The more people that reach out to an individual practitioner in that area, the more people that can have a result, a measurable, wow, my life has changed result. And that happens all day long. We see it all the time. And then they can tell more people, because honestly, there's a lot of suffering going out there, guys. I mean, it's just everywhere. There is so much suffering on every level. People need answers. They need alignment with love of their original source. And there are many avenues, but few come with the healing that Tao healing brings. There are many different insights and wisdoms and praying and lots of things that do help. But when I can actually transform it and feel that difference tangibly, close to instantly, or within a very short period of time, and it remains and it doesn't come back, and my life improves and it continues to improve and continues to improve, we don't see that very often in these days. Most people are spiraling in the other direction. So Tao technology helps us, gives us a toolkit, gives us the technologies, gives us practices, gives us groups to do practices in. It gives us community. And there's no ideology, there's no religion, there's no belief system, there's no you have to do this, let go of yours and do this, none of that. There's no agenda. It's just empowering you with practices, techniques, and methodologies to realign you to your highest version of your highest self. So I will complete with that. I'll open it if there are any questions or any things you'd like additional information on, or the people in the area. We do have a website. Maybe Terry, you can grab that website, the Tao Portland group, and drop it into the chat for others to see, or Sandy, whoever is easier to grab it. And we have a website that basically lists the various healers in the Pacific Northwest, so you can go find one that resonates with you and book a session with them. Okay, I used to be out there. That's why I'm here today, because these are all my friends. And I am one of the master teachers, but I'm out in Oklahoma now. And so I really want to support that community. So it has absolutely been my pleasure. Terry, you finding that link, or do you want me to grab it?
I can't get right to it. I'm having computer issues.
Okay, give me just a moment and I will grab it. It's called DaoHealingGroup.com, and I'll drop it into the chat. Currently, my chat is set to private message. Let me see if I can get out of that. Everybody, there it is. Okay. So I dropped into the chat. If you click on it, it'll open up a browser and whatever you're watching this on, and you can come back to it as we end. Thank you to Anita for putting together this whole program and being a staunch advocate, helping to gather all this, our weekly meetings to make sure that we're here to serve you. Do please go out and grab a few more people, bring them back every week on Wednesday. There will be a different teacher next Wednesday. And sometimes it's not even a teacher. Sometimes it's just someone that is a practitioner that wants to serve. And they're basically you. They just have about a few more years of knowledge. And oftentimes that's the best because you can just resonate with them. They're right where you're at, and they have they know you're suffering, and they can be a very good friend, compadre, and they can help you to heal. Okay. So I love you all. Thank you all for the opportunity to share, and I will see you all very soon. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
So how does everybody feel in your heart right now? Are you happy and grateful? Share this with your friends. Invite a friend. Just like Paul said, invite a friend, and we'll see you here next week, same time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Paul. Thank you, Nita. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everyone.